listening to the Bluejay Breakdown.
Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Bluejay Breakdown. Before we talk Creighton men's basketball, which there seems to be a lot to talk about, I want to tell you about the Omaha Supernovas. Did you know that it's pro time, Nebraska? The Omaha Supernovas have begun their season, and you can secure your single match tickets now at supernovas.com. You can witness world-class talent at the Omaha Supernovas play all their home games at the CHI Health Center Omaha. Go to supernovas.com for more information. Okay, Jacob Padilla, Mike Sautter here. There's a lot.
There is a lot. More than we got more than two games to talk about here. Because
two and a half games.
2.5
games.
Yeah.
I guess let's go back. Let's look at the Seton Hall road win, 3 overtime road win, 97-94. That was officiated really well. Let's start there.
Yeah, let's not start there. That was a disaster.
Not with the officiating. I'm saying the game.
It was. It was a huge game for Creighton, coming off of the loss to UConn, where you got in a little bit of rhythm. You won the games you needed to, heading to number one, feeling good. It's like we got a chance to go here and do something, and then you just kind of get handled, and wasn't really competitive for much of that game. Got out physicaled, outplayed in every facet of the game, and that drops you to 4-3 in conference play, and you don't want to fall behind. The conference side of hope's still alive at that point. So a second straight loss at Seton Hall, where it's not nobody's winning there. Nobody's winning on the road in the conference
really
period.
Well, though, right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the huge gut check game for Creighton. They were Seton Hall was going to test Creighton in a lot of similar ways that UConn did, and the Jays found a way to kind of adjust from one game to the next to kind of fix the things that caused them problems, and found a way to tough out a huge game. And I think it was a wild game, so many swings, because they had the game wrapped up about 3 or 4 different times, and then they were staring down a defeat 2 or 3 different times. And they gave up all those leads, then they came back when they needed to, and then finally down the stretch in the third overtime, Trey Alexander hit a stepped in huge 3 to put them ahead. Then they got to stop and hit some free throws to finish it. So I think the story of the game was Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, he was pretty dominant, I would think, right?
Yeah.
28 and 9. I mean, now
7 blocks.
Yeah, Seton Hall did get more than half of their points in the paint. They had 50 points in the paint, that's a tremendous number. Yeah. Well, they also did score 94 points. Yeah, so it's not that big of a number, but it's still pretty big.
Yeah.
And Seton Hall also had only 8 second chance points, that's huge.
I believe it was 10. There was a mistake in the live stats, but still 10 in 55 minutes after what UConn did to them
on
with 21 offensive rebounds.
86 shot attempts. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Huge key to the game.
Yeah, and offensive rebounds. I mean, speaking of that, Creighton only gave up 14 in this game. They only got 8, but still, it's not 20.
Yeah.
So
yeah, much better in that area. But Kalkbrenner, he got 5 shots against UConn.
Yeah.
5.
He had 23
and 1 trip to the free throw line. 23. Yeah, and he, like you said, finished with 28. He total of 23, which is below which, from a percentage standpoint, below what you normally see from him. But he had some bad luck, some rim outs. Probably got fouled on a few of those. Should have been at the line. That was. He was very close to having an even bigger game than he already did, and that's got to be a key. They have to continue to play through him to keep the offense balanced, and that'll open up better looks for everybody else.
Move the ball around a little better if you can get it inside.
And that's what Baylor talked about too. Is game or Trey, I think game just becomes so much easier for those perimeter players to go to work when the defense is so worried about keeping him in check and not letting him kill you. So I think that was the key to the game, was keeping Kalkbrenner involved, finding ways to get him the ball on the move. He had some huge plays in the overtime periods. And then Baylor Sharman didn't shoot the ball well, but stepped up, made some huge plays, had 20 points, 10 boards, 6 assists. Trey Alexander, like I said, had that huge three go ahead late in
Shot
overtime.
50%.
Yeah, he had a couple other really clutch buckets, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Like you said, shot 50% from 2 and from 3.
Yeah,
hit 3 threes, which is huge. Hasn't been shooting well this season. And then Stephen Ashworth, I think, kind of final mention there is they were
comfortable. He's getting comfortable.
End of regulation, down 2. Nobody else could get open. Like they had to burn 2 timeouts because they couldn't get the ball inbounded. Finally did get it to him. Ripped through. Like he got fouled, hand checked on the perimeter. Ripped through it. Played through the contact. Threw up a floater at the buzzer. Got absolutely blasted before he hit the ground. No and one, but laid it in off the glass to get the game to overtime there. And he was huge. 11 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers in 48 minutes. Also, collided with somebody, had to leave the game, get some stitches. I think he's got 5 stitches over his eye right now. So if you see him playing with the Band-Aid on, that's why. So it really kind of a display of toughness by so many
it's kind of
Creighton's
a
players.
momentum game, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel like, all right, okay. Like we got manhandled against UConn, and now we know we can win those tough, kind of gritty games.
100%. And that's why they needed this one. They need to show they're capable
Especially
of that.
One of the better teams in the league right now.
Seton Hall's beat
on the road.
UConn.
Yeah, on the road.
The only one that's beat UConn in conference play so far.
Right.
Like it's a team that's better than maybe some of their metrics.
They're way better than expectations.
Yeah, they've really turned things, kind of figured some things out. Creighton did a great job defensively on their star players. Kadari Richmond had a triple-double, but it took him 32 shots and 6 free throws to get his 21 points.
21 points on 32 shots is not good.
Yeah, Creighton. and that's credit to Creighton's combination of Trey Alexander and Ryan Kalkbrenner there for most of that. Alexander did a great job on him, and then steering him towards Kalkbrenner to force some misses around the basket.
Also, if you have a triple-double and you lose, that's tough.
So
that's real tough to do.
Friend Ravi Lula described it as a Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, that's totally
triple-double with a really poor efficiency.
Yeah, but losing the game, it's like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
So, yeah. And Baylor Sharman played his jersey number all 55 minutes.
Unbelievable.
Trey Alexander, 54. Or Ryan Kalkbrenner, 54. Trey Alexander, 53.
Stephen Ashworth, 49.
Just unreal performance by those guys. And then you go from that to 2 days off, and then you're right back at it at home against another physical team.
What do you think practice is like, right? Like you're just kind of going through it real softly, I'm guessing?
Yeah, they took a day off, and then Monday they were getting after it pretty good. A lot of focus on transition and stuff like that because they knew, and then some box out, some rebounding stuff because that's kind of what they focused on. They knew like that's what the entire game is transition and slowing down Xavier, who plays at an incredible pace, one of the best early shot clock teams in the country. And so, yeah, that was kind of, they had to pick and choose. All right, this is what we're going to focus on because can't wear those guys out in practice. They got to keep that monitored because of the heavy minute load. And Creighton, I think Jeremy Anderson, their strength coach, has gotten plenty of praise this season. Their sports science team has done a phenomenal job of making sure that they don't kind of overload these guys, that they're prepared to play the heavy minutes because Creighton needs them to.
Yeah, I mean, down the stretch, you don't want them to.
Yeah, so that's something that I know fans are, I think, pretty
worried
concerned about that.
Yeah.
It's something they'd obviously like to get a little bit more from the bench, but it's something that they are monitoring. It's not just, well, we got no chance just to do anything else, just play them, and whatever happens, happens. There is a method to the madness of the minutes they're playing. So we'll see if they can sustain that the whole season. But right now, the fact that 2 days later they were back out there and pulled out an 85-78 win against Xavier, and the key was the second half. Like you worry about the legs back to back. Again, guys playing heavy minutes.
Close game.
They finally hit some threes in the second half. So like that kind of goes against the tired legs. How are they going to be able to finish this game? They made some huge shots in the second half, and that's a credit to those guys for
also
kind of pushing
only
through.
holding Xavier to 12 fast break points is pretty good too, considering how fast they play or want to play.
Like I said, that was going to be the entire key, and that's what Greg McDermott talked about.
That could be 20, right?
It was 12 to 11. They kept them even there. Yeah. The difference in the first half, they were down 1 at halftime, was the points off turnovers.
Yeah, 21.
They basically in this game, Xavier scored almost every single time Creighton turned the ball over, and that was putting the Jays in a tough spot because they weren't hitting threes in the first half. And seeing
they had
Xavier's
21 points off turnovers, and Creighton only had 9 turnovers as a team. So that's you're pretty efficient there.
Yeah, it's kind of unreal their efficiency off the takeaways there. So Creighton cleaned up some turnovers down the stretch. They finally started hitting some threes, and then Baylor Shireman just absolutely took over. He had 5 points in the first 28 minutes of that game. Hardly shot the ball, and then they come down, need a bucket, drop a play for him, comes out of a timeout and buries a 3, and then it was off and running there. He finished with 20, so scored 15 points in those last 12 minutes of the game.
And 6 of 11, 5 of 9 from 3. It's pretty good. Played off 40 minutes again.
Yep. So, here's a stat for you. In the last 4 games for Creighton, Baylor Shireman has played a total of 174 minutes and 18 seconds.
Wow.
Out of 175. He spent 42 seconds on the bench.
Yeah, I think he's probably in pretty good shape.
Yes, I would say so. And that was a huge key for him this offseason, like not going through the NBA draft process. Again, like some of the other guys, he's like, I know I'm coming back, and I'm going to focus solely on getting in the best possible shape, getting the most out of my athleticism. And it's really paid off. He's made a huge leap in his all-around game. And defensively, he was the primary defender on Desmond Claude, who had 18 points in the first half, but it was on 15 field goal attempts and 4 free throw attempts, 16 shooting possessions there. And in the second half, did not make a shot, 0 for 8. He had hit some really tough ones in the first half. Second half, getting a lot of same shots and just wasn't making them. So that's where you credit the defense where, maybe he was scoring some early on, but he wasn't getting anything easy. And so Shireman, two-way performance there, stepping up in the clutch. Just another fantastic performance for
Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles, baby. It's Baylor Shireman, I swear.
Yep, no, that's...
he totally is.
That's the comp I've given as well when people start...
Joe Ingles is like the perfect comp for Baylor Shireman. Like if you want a guy, you want to take the NBA comparison, it's Joe Ingles.
Yeah, and he...
a skinnier version of Joe. He'll gain...
Yeah, and like that's... He's giving himself a chance. Like the way he's
doing
playing
some
this
dirty
year,
work type stuff.
He's very much giving himself a chance to make some good money.
Not the twitchiest guy, but
yeah. And so Baylor took over down the stretch, but it was Trey Alexander that kind of
27.
Put them on his back the whole game. Had 16 in the first half, 11 in the second. Shot 10 of 18 from the field. Hit another big 3. Hit a couple of them. 5 of 5 from the line. 9 boards, 4 assists.
All 9 defensive rebounds.
Played
all
all
9
but
of them
45
were
seconds.
Yeah.
So he huge again, and then Kalkbrenner just 16 points, 9 boards. They continued to keep him
7 of 11. Yeah, pretty good. Took a 3.
Yeah, and then Ashworth again, another 12 points. He had a huge 3 late when they needed it. Again, called the play out of a timeout for him to get him a look and knocked it down. 7 assists, just 1 turnover. He is now leading the Big East in assist turnover ratio. It's over 5. I think it's like 5.5 at this point.
Crazy.
Assist turnover ratio in league play.
Coach Mack had some high praise for him after the game too.
And then we talked about Baylor's defense. Stephen Ashworth as well. On Quincy Olivari, their leading scorer, came in averaging 18, shooting 43% from 3. Had 15 points on 14 shooting possessions, only hit 1 3 in the game. And Ashworth was the primary defender there. And you mentioned Coach Mack giving him praise. Talked about it 6 weeks ago. He doesn't do the stuff that he's doing now. He's a completely different player. he was getting benched for defensive purposes early in the down the stretch in games early in the season, and now Max said, like, I can't take him off because of his defense. Yeah. So he's like, if the shot starts to come at some point, and I know he believes it will, I know the team believes it will. Everything else is starting to come into form for him, and that's huge for this team moving forward. Just with the way he's playing now and getting everybody else their shots.
And now you have he's again, like McDermott said 6 weeks ago. Fans were starting to kind of talk about like, oh man, like what are we gonna do here? We need a point guard. Well, give it some time. Be patient. Be patient.
Yep. And
he's old and mature, and he's a good player. Put up good numbers. Just relax.
Yeah. So Ashworth settling in, Kalkbrenner continuing to keep him involved. I think you like the way that this team is looking right now, and they've got the pink out obviously coming up.
That'll be
on
I was
Saturday
just gonna go with like that's kind of like a,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it's kind of like a layup, but that's a everyone gets in game. And it's sold out. Yeah.
The atmosphere there will be fantastic.
Yeah. Good luck, DePaul. DePaul just fired their coach.
Yeah.
Like, there is everything working against DePaul, and they're just not very good. And then they get like a week off.
Yeah.
Which is they kind of need a little bit of a rest, right?
Very much so.
So it's you get a little time to and then good Butler team
at home again. So part of a 3-game homestand.
You're home for like an entire week here, like more than I guess 2 weeks.
So the fact that they got these last 2 games through these last 2 games, played as well as it did, got the wins,
and went 2-0. Like I mean, you could have had been 0-2 on the road, and then coming back. I mean that UConn Seton Hall kind of back-to-back games in short time, in 2 days, 3 days, 2.5 days.
Yep. So
it's
they're
a little tough.
So they're sitting at 15-5, 6-3 in conference, half a game back of Seton Hall in the second best conference in college basketball. Obviously, it hasn't always looked as smooth as.
And they're 5-3 on the road this year too. That's big.
Yeah, and obviously DePaul and Georgetown are a couple of those, but
still,
they still count. And Creighton played well for 1.5 of those games.
And they're still in 12th in the net rating. I mean, they're going to be a high seed, and unless they just totally fall apart, which they won't. But they'll be a top 5-ish seed, if not higher. I mean, when I say top 5, I mean anywhere from probably 3, 4, 5, right in that range.
So 15th in KenPom, top 15 in the net, obviously 17 in the AP poll. I think Creighton's in good shape moving forward. They took care of business, and now it's about continuing these trends of playing well and moving forward. And we'll talk about that moving forward, but we'll be back next week after the pink out game to kind of discuss the atmosphere there.
It'll probably be pretty quick.
Yeah. We won't have to go too in depth on that one as long as things go according to plan. But we'll be back to talk about regardless here on Bluejay Breakdown.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.